So for those of you who don't know, I've been a humongous Spider-Man fan since I was a kid. I remember going to the library one day and finding a volume of original Spider-Man comic books, including Amazing Fantasy 15, and I was hooked from there. One might say I was caught in that spider's web.
Okay, who let that get in the script?
I have Legos, I have comics, I have Dr. Pepper cans from the OG Spider-Man movie. Heck, I was 7th in line for an IMAX showing of Spider-Man 3 on opening night.
I've made a huge mistake.
I love Spider-Man. For those of you who remember a time when demo units existed at retail, I even recall walking into Walmart every chance I got during a church fundraiser to play Spider-Man the movie game on PS2. Definitely walked away with a neck cramp from staring up at that CRT. Now, while I'm a big fan of Spider-Man, Peter Parker was the only Spider-Man I knew, so it makes sense that when the trailer for Into the Spider-Verse came out, I was intrigued. I didn't know much about the main protagonist, Miles Morales, but that sequence where he launches off the side of a building, pulling shards of glass with him, grabbed my attention. I've seen the movie multiple times since then, and I assure you I can definitely pull off a Miles when I hum Sunflower. I apologize, I've had that song stuck in my head since the movie came out. Everything about Miles resonated with me, and the awkward teen trying to find his place is so, well, Spider-Man. Now, as soon as Marvel's Spider-Man released in 2018, I immediately bought in. This was a new Peter Parker with a new story. I'm not sure what you've played, so let's break down Marvel's Spider-Man a little. Marvel's Spider-Man is arguably the best Spider-Man game since Spider-Man 2 on PS2. Not only did Insomniac give us a completely original narrative, but you'll want to web swing around and battle bad guys for hours. While it follows the open world Spider-Man game formula, it felt so clean and fluid you'd think Insomniac was making these their entire careers. Something adding another layer of intrigue with the game is when the gameplay reveal trailer brought Miles into the picture. I wasn't sure he'd end up as much more than a call-out, but thankfully Insomniac Games went above and beyond at introducing him and even made him somewhat playable. Since the follow-up entry gives it away, Miles does in fact get his spider powers. But all one could guess at the time is this could work its way into whatever Peter Parker Spider-Man sequel came along. Insomniac certainly surprised with something not only dedicated to Miles, but more than a DLC. Miles Morales is getting Uncharted Lost Legacy treatment. And while that means it's not as long as the original, it's still a substantial amount of game. So why should you be excited for Spider-Man Miles Morales? Well, first off, if you loved Into the Spider-Verse like I did, you should automatically be sold on it. The director of said movie, Phil Lord, even told us the game looks special after revealing he got a sneak peek last year. This game looks to have it all. The powers, the suits, and oh my gosh, the trap beats. One of the best things about Into the Spider-Verse is the soundtrack, and Insomniac seems to have placed an emphasis on just that. Andrew Reiner from Game Informer even confirmed there's a form of music collectible, and I can't wait to find out what that is and how it works in the game. Now, if you're a big fan of the original Marvel Spider-Man, there's more good news. The city's mostly like you remember it, but with subtle tweaks and snow from the winter season. While it's still an open-world Spider-Man game, Insomniac has been hard at work to give Miles his own feel, including working on new web-swinging and takedown animations just for him. Those powers mentioned earlier will also bring some new variations to the fast-paced combat, as well as making our new Spider-Man look cool as he pummels thugs. Another thing you can really appreciate about this game is how Insomniac clearly focused on bringing Miles' African-American and Puerto Rican heritage and culture to life in an organic way. Just watching the gameplay trailer show Spanish Harlem during Christmas is amazing. A few days after Miles Morales' surprise June PS5 showcase reveal, creative director Brian Horton said that Miles' multicultural background reflects a more modern, diverse world. And recently, Christina Curley of Insomniac was quoted saying, "Miles was the first Afro-Latino identifying character I have ever seen represented in big entertainment. And having that positive representation means the world to me. Es nuestro hero." The last thing I have to mention is Spider-Man the cat. I'm a cat person to begin with. And the fact that there's a mission where you get to save a sweet little kitty who becomes part of a new suit and does finishers with you, I'm so there.
Look up here, and here's my little crime fighter right here. Say hello to the camera, Obi.
In the end, while Peter Parker is the Spider-Man I initially fell in love with, I'm glad Miles can join in the spotlight and get the attention he deserves. You'll be hard-pressed to think I'm not just as excited to swing around the city with Miles as I was with Peter. And also, if you've read any of the Spider-Verse or Spider-Geddon crossover events, there are many characters called Spider-Man or Spider-Woman. So Insomniac and Marvel have an almost infinite number of super diverse and interesting characters to work with going forward. I can't wait to see what the future of Marvel's Spider-Man or Woman holds. Spider-Man Miles Morales will be available for PS4 and as a PS5 launch title. And if you want to grab that Ultimate Edition, it'll include the original Marvel Spider-Man completely remastered. Now I know you really want a PS5 in this game, but here's an example of how not to go about that when speaking with the person behind the counter.
Hey.
Thanks for watching. While I'd love to stick around longer and talk more Spider-Man, I kinda wanna play it. So hit me up on Twitter at SplitEnd89 and maybe you'll catch a few screenshots of Miles from me. Stick around, more GameStop content is web swinging your way.